Hello everyone, this is Dalster and welcome to another episode review for Dark Side of the Ring. And in this episode, it talks about the controversial WWF Brawl For All in 1998. Before WWE, it was called WWF, World Wrestling Federation. They had to change it in 2002 because the other WWF, the World Wildlife Fund, did not want the other WWF to be associated with wrestling. The idea for Brawl For All was created by Vince Russo, who is very controversial to this day. I remember seeing it on WWE Network before it was taken down with all the other WWE content because it was going to Peacock months later. It was a shoot fighting tournament that involved fist and street fighting styles. A lot of people said they hated it, and sadly the tournament also caused some bad injuries, some of them being left paralyzed for months. It was okay, but when I heard that wrestlers got hurt badly, I was shocked and sad for them. I'm going to go over the episode and explain my thoughts about it at the end, as I summarize it. During the 90s, WWF and WCW were competing for TV rating. At the time, it was known as the Monday Night Wars. Vince McMahon hired writer Vince Russo for the storylines in the WWF. While he was in WWF, Russo thought that the wrestling characters were bad. Jim Cornette, a wrestling promoter, thinks that Russo did not know anything about wrestling when he was a writer for WWF, and thought that Russo was using ideas from the Jerry Springer show, which was true because Russo thought that it would work and entertain the audience. When it comes to Cornette, he takes wrestling seriously, as he likes to call himself a wrestling historian, and thinks that it is not fake as people say it is. Cornette also said in the episode that Vince McMahon is a genius and a demon. In the episode, you can see Jim Cornette rip a picture of Vince Russo in such an angry way. Russo tried to get non-wrestling fans to watch wrestling in order to boost ratings for WWF. He thought of the idea of a Brawl For All tournament because of his hatred towards wrestler Bradshaw, also known as JBL or John Bradshaw Layfield. The reason why Russo hated JBL was that Bradshaw was a bully, as Russo heard Bradshaw say in the locker rooms that he would beat everyone in there. After coming with an idea, he went to Vince McMahon and he agreed on it. In 1998, WWF had 16 wrestlers fight in an unscripted tournament to see who really was the strongest in the locker room. One of the competitors, named Bart Gunn, thought it was stupid, but got convinced by Kevin Kelly to do it. Before he was a wrestler, Bart was the shortest kid in class and got bullied for it. He then trained hard and eventually got into the wrestling scene. Bart Gunn was part of the Smoking Guns tag team along with his K-Fed or fake brother, Billy Gunn, who would be a DX member that year of 1998. The team had split up months before the tournament, so Bart tried to make a name for himself, which is why he ended up doing the Brawl For All. The tournament also included The Godfather, as Russo said that he thought The Godfather was one of the strongest men in the locker room. Godfather ended up doing the Brawl For All so that he could get money and the recognition as well. Another wrestler who wanted more recognition as well was Droz. Droz, whose real name was Darren Drozdov, used to throw up when he was in the football team. Before getting the name Droz, he was called Puke. Like Droz, the other competitors wanted to have a career boost, as some felt that they were not used much in the WWF. How they picked the matches was writing down the name of each competitor and putting those pieces of paper into a paper bag. Wrestlers who participated were Bradshaw, Road Warrior Hawk, Bob Holly, Droz, The Godfather, Mark Merrow, and 10 others. Steve Dr. Death Williams, who was known to beat up the Japanese wrestlers really hard, also participated in the tournament. The tournament was scheduled for 2 months on Raw and started on June 29th, 1998. Each match had 3 one-minute rounds, as the prize was $75,000. Some of the participants did not know how to box. It was difficult for them, as you could see from the clips of Brawl For All, where some of the participants looked as though they were fighting in a drunk bar fight. Commentator Jim Ross calls the Brawl For All a train wreck. Cornette said that even the judges did not know how to judge the rounds. The wrestlers also seemed to have no idea on what to do, as the tournament was not scripted. The crowd booed, as a majority of the wrestlers felt humiliated. Surprisingly, one of the participants, named Carl Ouellet, was in the tournament even though he had an eye patch, and behind that eye patch there was no eye. Carl got hurt badly in the Brawl For All, as you could see from past footage. that the area where his eye patch is had a blackish purplish color around it. Trigger warning if you do end up watching this episode. Even though a lot of people had issues with the tournament, especially JR, who was already sick of it, McMahon just kept it going. After the first fight against Bob Holly, Bart faces Dr. Death in his second match. Theories were swirling around that Dr. Death was going to win the Brawl For All, but it was false as shockingly he lost to Bart. Wrestlers in the back and other WWF employees were invested in watching the match between Bart Gunn and Dr. Death. How Dr. Death lost his fight to Bart was because he tore his hamstring during one of the rounds. In an old clip shown in this episode, you could see Dr. Death getting knocked out cold and looking so out of it. Unfortunately for Dr. Death, he went to rehabilitation for a long time after his fight with Bart, and was out of WWF a year later. Being out for several months costed Dr. Death to be held back after he came back from the injury. While being interviewed for the episode, Cornette gets angry at Vince Russo for Dr. Death's severe injury as he wanted to kill Russo. In the next match, Droz faced Bradshaw. In the episode, Droz calls Bradshaw a bastard as he was watching the match through his television. Russo said that Bradshaw knew the tournament was based on him and wanted JBL to get his butt whooped really badly. We also find out in this episode that the Godfather actually hates pimps. In the Godfather's match, he faced Two Cold Scorpio and won to then face Bart in the next round. Godfather said in the episode that when Bart punched him, he went to the ground and could not feel his legs. When seeing the footage, you can see Bart hit Godfather with a cold right-hand punch. In the episode, Godfather shows us a picture of his torn leg muscle, which looks brutally red and pink all over. It's sort of similar to when Cody Rhodes tore his pec in his steel cage match against Seth Rollins. The Godfather said that he had to use a wheelchair and that his wife was mad at him for not winning the money. Back to Bart, he faced JBL in the last round of the tournament. Bradshaw gets punched a bunch of times and loses. As Russo was watching the match on the television, he could see Bradshaw's legs jitter. Russo could not help but feel good about seeing Bradshaw get knocked out. Cornette said that Bradshaw looked twitchy and that his eyes looked as though he was someplace else. He blames Russo for ruining the careers of many wrestlers that were in the tournament. Bart Gunn said that when he did the Brawl For All, he got stabbed with a bottle in one of his fights. JR said that Cornette and Russo will never be on the same page, obviously. Russo said in the episode that Cornette had left him a voice message threatening to kill him and Russo's family. Cornette throws a bit of an angry rant and how he has such enmity towards Russo. In his opinion, Russo said that Cornette hates him because of wrestling. Back to the Brawl For All, Bart wins and receives the money and a pair of golden boxing gloves that he still has since this episode aired. Bart had hoped that he would get a big push in the WWF, but WWF did not know what to do with him, as they did not expect Bart to win the tournament. WWF ended up sending Bart home as they had no idea what to do with him until a couple of months later. Eventually, Vince thought of the idea of having Bart face a boxer named Butterbean for the WrestleMania pay-per-view. Butterbean at the time was a 300-pound man who in the 90s had 50 wins in the boxing community. Bart trained for the match as Butterbean was a hard hitter. The Godfather said that when he was smoking with another wrestler, Butterbean came up to them and told the men that they were not professional fighters. Butterbean said in the episode that Vince McMahon wanted him to beat Bart. On March 28, 1999, at WrestleMania 15, Bart and Butterbean had faced each other in a boxing match. In the match, Butterbean had Bart wobble. Bart's head then turned backwards as seen in the clip. Butterbean said that his kids thought that he had killed Bart. Unfortunately for Bart, he had lost the match and felt that his push was over. Bart never watched the Butterbean fight because he felt angry and humiliated by it. When Bart went to MMA, he was set to fight Butterbean again, but refused as he wanted to have more time to prepare for his rematch. Eventually, Bart was done with wrestling as he did not feel the adrenaline rush that he used to feel back then. A year after the Brawl For All, Droz had a match with D'Lo Brown. In the match, Droz was powerbombed. However, as he was being powerbombed, his neck had broken as Droz is describing it in the episode that he could hear cracks. During that match, Droz had told D'Lo that he could not move. D'Lo said in the episode that he felt so bad for Draws that he cried after the match after Draws told him that he could not move. D'Lo said that he never saw Draws again. Draws was paralyzed for over 20 years and was in a wheelchair for the remainder of his life. Cornette appreciates wrestling, as Russo said that he hates it and does not like to talk about it, but he likes to talk about it in his channel though. At the end of the episode, while watching the Brawl For All tournament, Russo said that he felt bad now that there is more information about head trauma. Unfortunately, no one got over in the Brawl For All. Bart says at the end that he agrees with Bruce Pritchard that it was a bad idea, but that the tournament still continued. Interviewers for this episode are Vince Russo, Jim Cornette, Jim Ross, Bart Gunn, The Godfather, Charles Wright, Draws, Darren Drozdov, Butterbean, Eric Ish, professional boxer, and D'Lo Brown. Some facts about the tournament is that multiple wrestlers got severely injured, such as Road Warrior Hawk, Savio Vega, Steve Blackman, The Godfather, Draws, and Brackus. Dr. Death eventually came back to wrestle in WCW and All Japan Pro Wrestling. He unfortunately had cancer and died in 2009. After Brawl For All, Bart got offered to work in All Japan Pro Wrestling for a while due to him beating Dr. Death. In All Japan Pro Wrestling, Bart's name was changed to Mike Barton and covered Dr. Death's absence. Once Dr. Death came back, he and Bart had a lot of matches together and were in a tag team at one point. In 2002, it looked as though Bart and Dr. Death eventually settled their differences after the Brawl For All and became close friends while in All Japan Pro Wrestling. Steve Blackman left WWE in 2002. Bob Holly left in 2009, as well as JBL. The Godfather left WWF in 2002. Other participants in the tournament were Mark Canterbury, Brackus, Dan Severn, and 8-Ball. Road Warrior Hawk died on October 19, 2003 from a heart attack. Draws died on June 30th, 2023, almost a year ago after this recording of the video. After he got paralyzed, WWE offered Draws work as a writer and a columnist, and was also a guest for the WWE Bite This. WWE supported Draws when he was still alive, not sure how long though. This episode was pretty interesting, but I felt as though they focused more on the hatred between Russo and Cornette. Though I will say that Draws has no anger towards D'Lo after he got paralyzed, as stuff like this usually happens in the ring. I give this episode a 7 out of 10, as it was good, but it focused too much on Russo and Cornette. It's pretty sad that the competitors got injured so badly while in the Brawl For All. Vince McMahon should have ended it when the audience started to hate it, but he seems to stick with his ideas even though some people might not like it. An example is when he and his kids, along with Triple H, told us that they were going to listen to what we want, only to then revert back to his ideas. It sucks that these wrestlers got hurt, and I don't think it was worth it in the end. Let me know what you guys think if you want to share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Comment, like, or subscribe if you want, and take care of your mental health, and I'll try to do so myself. See you next time. Bye guys.